Thinking, fast and slow. Ever made a decision you instantly regretted? Of course you have. We all have. And the reason is way more fascinating and way more fixable than you think. There's a book that completely rewired my brain. It's called Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He won the Nobel Prize in economics. But here's the twist, he's not an economist. He's a psychologist. And that single fact is why his work shattered an entire field. For centuries, economics was built on the idea that humans are rational, that we make choices to maximize our own benefit. Clean, logical. The problem? In the real world, nobody actually behaves that way. Here's an example straight from the book. An economist offers a friend a coin flip bet. Heads, you win $200. Tails, you lose $100. Mathematically, this is a no-brainer, equal odds, but you win twice what you risk. Any rational person says yes. But the friend says no. Because the pain of losing $100 hurts far more than the pleasure of winning $200 feels good. That gap between what economists predicted and what humans actually do became Kahneman's life work. He called it behavioral economics. And the core of it is understanding how your mind actually works. Not how it should work in theory. How it actually works. So let's talk about that. Your brain runs on two systems. Kahneman calls them System 1 and System 2. Think of them as fast and slow. Car is coming straight at you. You leap out of the way. You don't think. You just move. That's System 1. Fast. Automatic. Instinctive. Now try this. What's 17 times 24? You can't just blurt it out. You have to pause and calculate. That's System 2. Slow. Deliberate. Effortful. System 1 handles everything effortless. Reading facial expressions. Sensing danger. Driving a route you've driven 1,000 times. It's always running in the background. Burning almost no energy. System 2 handles the heavy lifting. Math problems. Logical reasoning. Comparing two products. Choosing your words carefully. It's powerful, but it drains mental energy fast. And here's the key, System 2 is lazy. Prefers to stay in standby mode. It only wakes up when System 1 hits something it can't handle. Like the 17 times 24 question. System 1 has no answer, so it calls for backup. System 2 fires up, does the work, and responds. But here's the massive problem. System 1 is fast. Blindingly fast. It often shoots out an answer before System 2 even has a chance to step in. And those snap answers are often wrong. Psychologists did a famous experiment. They showed people a video of two teams passing a basketball. One team in white, one in black. The task: count how many times the white team passes the ball. It demands full attention. Halfway through the video, a person in a full gorilla suit walks right through the scene, stops, pounds their chest, and walks off. The gorilla is on screen for 9 full seconds. Half the audience never sees it. Not because they weren't paying attention. Because their attention was completely consumed by the counting task. That's System 2, so focused it blocks out everything else. So if System 2 is more accurate, why don't we just use it for everything? Why are we built this way? 2 reasons. First, energy. System 2 is expensive. It devours your mental battery. If you ran it all day, you'd be exhausted and useless by noon. Second, evolution. Your ancestors didn't have the luxury of careful analysis. If a predator leaps at you, you don't calculate survival probabilities. You run. The ones who stopped to think got eaten. Over hundreds of thousands of years, nature selected for speed over accuracy. The fast system kept us alive. And this explains so much of the weird, irrational stuff we all do. Take overconfidence. Researchers asked a group of drivers to rate their driving ability. 80% said they were above average. That's mathematically impossible. Another study, 70% of students said their leadership skills were above average. 85% said they were above average at getting along with others. And 25% rated themselves in the top 1%. Why are we so unrealistically confident? Because evolution rewarded it. Imagine 2 cavemen. A deer runs past. The rational caveman estimates a 1% chance of catching it and stays put. The overconfident one thinks he has a 50% chance and chases it. Here's the wild part: belief affects performance. The overconfident caveman releases more dopamine, runs harder, and actually catches the deer more often. Over thousands of generations, the survivors were the ones who chased. Overconfidence got baked into our DNA. This fast default setup works fine most of the time, but it creates a specific, predictable failure pattern. System 1 blurts out an answer before System 2 can verify it. And that answer is often dead wrong. Classic test. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? If you instantly thought 10 cents, you're wrong. And you're in excellent company. More than half of students at Harvard, MIT, and Princeton gave that answer. The correct answer is 5 cents. But System 1 jumps to the easy, obvious answer, and most people never stop to check. Kahneman cataloged dozens of these mental shortcuts and their spectacular failures. Here are the ones you need to know. The anchoring effect. The very first number you hear warps every judgment that follows. Ask someone whether Gandhi died before or after age 114, then ask for his actual age. Their guess will be much higher than if you first mentioned age 35. Completely irrelevant numbers change your answer. Availability bias. Things that come to mind easily feel far more likely. Plane crashes get massive media coverage, so people fear flying more than driving. Statistically, driving is vastly more dangerous. But our brains confuse easy to remember with likely to happen. Confirmation bias. We actively seek out information that confirms what we already believe and ignore evidence that contradicts us. If you think a politician is dishonest, every mistake confirms it, and every honest act gets dismissed. You're not evaluating evidence. You're building a case. Loss aversion. Losing hurts about twice as much as winning feels good. Remember that coin flip game? Losing $100 felt so painful the friend walked away from free money. This is one of the most robust findings in all of psychology. Sunk cost fallacy. We keep investing in things just because we've already invested in them. The terrible movie you keep watching because you paid for the ticket. The failing project you keep funding because you've already spent millions. The rational move is to ignore past costs and only evaluate future benefits. Almost nobody does that naturally. Alright, our brains are wired to make predictable mistakes. So what do we actually do about it? Researchers ran a brilliant study with university students. They gave them a cognitive reflection test. Questions like, if 5 machines take 5 minutes to make 5 widgets, how long would 100 machines take to make 100 widgets? When the test was printed in a clean, easy-to-read font, 90% of students got at least one question wrong. But when the exact same test was printed in a tiny, hard-to-read gray font, forcing students to slow down, the error rate plummeted to 35%. The single most powerful thing you can do to make better decisions is to deliberately wake up your system too. Give it a reason to engage. Even a tiny bit of friction, a little difficulty, forces your brain to shift gears. Kahneman gives 2 practical ways to do this. Use formulas, and use other people. First, formulas. A simple scoring system beats expert intuition almost every time. Kahneman worked with the Israeli military to design a candidate evaluation system. Nothing complicated, 6 criteria, each scored 1 to 5. That's it. No fancy algorithms. It consistently outperformed subjective human judgment. You can use this in your own life. Let's say you're choosing between potential dates. Instead of going on pure gut feeling, pick 3 factors that actually matter to you: appearance, education, personality. Score each person on all 3. Add up the totals. Pick the top scorers. It's ridiculously simple, but it's more reliable than your intuition. Second, use other people. We are terrible at judging ourselves objectively, but we are brilliant at spotting mistakes in others. Kahneman calls this the inside view versus the outside view. Here's a story from his own life. When he was in the Israeli army, he led a team to write a high school curriculum on decision-making. He asked the team how long the textbook would take. Most people said 1.5 to 2.5 years. Then Kahneman asked someone with actual textbook development experience how long similar projects had really taken. The answer, 40% of teams never finished. Among those that did, the shortest took 7 years. The longest, 10. The outside view screamed, this will take 7 to 10 years and has a 40% chance of failure. But the team ignored it completely. Their inside view, we're special, our progress looks great. 1. They were utterly convinced they'd finish in 2 years. Took 8 years. And by the time it was done, the Ministry of Education had lost interest and the textbook was never used. This is precisely why you need other people. You cannot see your own blind spots. A colleague, a friend, a mentor, they can give you the outside view that you will always refuse to give yourself. Kahneman recommends a technique called the pre-mortem. Before making any major decision, gather a small group who understands the situation. Ask them to imagine it's 1 year from now and the decision has been a total disaster. What went wrong? Everyone writes down their answers independently. This forces your brain to confront failure modes your natural optimism wants to ignore. It's uncomfortable, and it works. One more crucial thing. Your physical state directly controls your decision quality. When your blood sugar drops, when you're exhausted, your self-control collapses and you make dramatically worse choices. If you're tired, do not make important decisions. Take a 5-minute walk. Take a few deep breaths. Then decide. So here's the bottom line. Your brain has two systems. One fast and intuitive. One slow and deliberate. System 1 runs your life and that's fine until it isn't. The mistakes aren't random. They follow predictable patterns. Anchoring, availability, confirmation bias, loss aversion, overconfidence. You can't shut System 1 off, but you can learn to catch it. Use simple formulas. Ask other people for the outside view. And when you're drained, don't decide anything that matters. The goal isn't to become a perfectly rational robot. That's impossible. The goal is to recognize when your fast brain is leading you off a cliff, and to have the tools to pull your slow brain into the driver's seat. If this made you think about how you think, drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.